Take off your pants." I heard that. Guys, I didn't believe this was possible until it happened to me. Before you judge me, listen to my story. Biology class was in full swing, and Mr. Dawes was explaining something about ecosystems, but I barely heard him. The room felt heavier than usual, like there was something wrong in the air. I kept my head down, not wanting to draw attention, but I felt his gaze on me. Then suddenly he called my name. "Olivia," he said, his voice cutting through the classroom chatter. "Come to the front." My heart skipped a beat. I could feel every eye turn toward me. With cheeks burning, I pushed myself to stand, each step feeling heavier as I walked to the front. I was confused. What did he want? Why was he looking at me like that? When I reached him, he leaned down and spoke in a low voice only I could hear. "If you want to pass this class, you'll have to listen to me very carefully," he said, his words sending a chill down my spine. What do you mean?" I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper, but he didn't answer. Instead, he smirked slightly, his eyes cold and unfeeling. The bell rang, breaking the strange silence. Mr. Dawes straightened up, his face expressionless. "Class dismissed," he announced loudly. My classmates gathered their things, leaving without noticing a thing. But I knew something was very, very wrong. That night, I couldn't get his words out of my head. I lay in bed, staring up at the ceiling, trying to understand why he would say something so strange to me. I was a quiet student, one who kept to herself. I didn't stand out, didn't cause trouble, so why me? My phone buzzed, breaking me from my thoughts. It was a text from Mia, my best friend. "Hey, Liv, are you okay? You looked kinda distant today," she wrote. I hesitated. I didn't want to worry her, but I also didn't want to lie. I typed back quickly, "Just tired, that's all. Talk tomorrow?" Her reply was instant. "Okay, just checking. Rest up." I put my phone down, but my thoughts wouldn't settle. I kept seeing Mr. Dawes' face in my mind, that strange look he'd given me. I couldn't explain it, but I felt a deep, unsettling sense of dread. The next day, I was on edge. I tried to keep my head down in biology class, hoping Mr. Dawes wouldn't notice me. I focused on taking notes, not daring to look up. But every time I glanced his way, he was looking directly at me, and it sent chills down my spine. After class, I went to my locker, relieved to have escaped his gaze, even if just for a moment. But as I opened the door, a folded piece of paper fell out. I picked it up, unfolding it carefully. "Be careful. Don't trust him." My heart raced as I scanned the hallway, searching for the person who'd left it. But everyone seemed focused on their own business, laughing and chatting like nothing was wrong. I stuffed the note into my pocket, feeling a strange mixture of fear and anger. Someone else knew something about Mr. Dawes, and they were warning me. But why? And who? Later in the cafeteria, Mia joined me at our usual table. "Liv, what's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, eyes wide with concern. I hesitated, but decided to tell her a little. "It's Mr. Dawes. He's been acting weird. Yesterday, he said something strange to me." Mia's eyes widened. "Mr. Dawes? That creepy guy? Everyone says he's a little weird, but what did he say?" I shook my head. "I'm not even sure, but it felt wrong, like he was threatening me." I pulled out the note and handed it to her. Mia read it, her face darkening. "This is messed up, Liv. You need to be careful. If he's trying to threaten you, you should tell someone." But I shook my head again. "I don't have any proof, Mia. If I tell someone, it'll just be my word against his, and he's a teacher. Who would believe me?" Mia reached over, squeezing my hand. "I believe you. And I'll help you. We'll figure this out together." The next day, Mr. Dawes asked me to stay after class. I felt my stomach twist, but I couldn't say no without arousing suspicion. So I waited, my heart pounding as my classmates left the room one by one until it was just him and me. "Olivia," he said, his tone soft but cold. "You're a bright student. I think you could go far, but only if you're willing to listen." I swallowed hard, my throat feeling dry. "Thank you, but I don't understand what you mean." He took a step closer, too close. "If you want to pass my class, Olivia, you'll need to do exactly as I say," he murmured, his eyes narrowing. I don't understand," I whispered, frozen in place. He smirked, his gaze unyielding. "Just trust me. If you follow my instructions, you'll do just fine." With that, he placed a hand on my shoulder, his grip tight, almost painful. "You're dismissed," he said. I ran out of the room, barely holding back tears. This wasn't normal. This wasn't okay. I knew I needed to tell someone, but I felt trapped. Who would believe me? That night, I sat in my room, determined to find answers. I remembered hearing about a student named Emily who'd left the school suddenly a few years ago. She was in Mr. Dawes' class, and I couldn't shake the feeling that her departure might be connected to him. I typed out a message on social media. "Hi, Emily. My name is Olivia. I go to your old school. I found your name in a school article. Can we talk?" To my surprise, she replied quickly. "Olivia, you need to be careful. Don't trust Mr. Dawes. He did things that made me leave." Her response sent a chill down my spine, but I couldn't stop now. "What did he do?" I asked, hands shaking as I typed. "I can't say here. Just be careful." "He's dangerous," she replied. I stared at her message, my mind racing. This was bigger than I'd thought. I needed to do something, but I didn't know where to start. The next day I met Mia after school. We went to a small coffee shop, and once we were settled, I took a deep breath. "Mia, I talked to someone who left school because of Mr. Dawes. She said he's dangerous." Mia's eyes widened. "Dangerous? Like, what do you mean?" She wouldn't say exactly, but I think he's been threatening girls. Maybe more than that, I said, feeling my stomach churn. Mia looked horrified but resolute. "Liv, we have to do something. We can't just let this happen." I nodded, feeling the weight of her support. "I agree. But how?" Mia leaned forward, her voice a whisper. "We need proof. If we can get him on tape saying something inappropriate, then we'll have what we need to take to the principal." The next day, I wore a hidden recorder in my pocket. It was small, but it felt like it weighed a ton. I knew the risks. If he found out, I didn't know what he would do. But I had to try. During class, I noticed Mr. Dawes looking at me, his gaze lingering. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face blank, pretending not to notice. When the bell rang, he asked me to stay back. "Olivia," he said, his tone smooth and almost comforting. "You've seemed distracted lately. Is everything all right?" I swallowed, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm fine, Mr. Dawes." He leaned in, his eyes narrowing. "You know, Olivia, if you're struggling, all you have to do is ask. I'm more than willing to guide you." Every word, every sentence was being recorded. I forced myself to respond. What do you mean?" He smirked, his gaze unwavering. "You're a smart girl. I think you know exactly what I mean." Finally, he dismissed me, and I rushed out of the room, feeling a mix of relief and fear. I'd done it. I had what I needed. That night, Mia and I sat in her room, listening to the recording. Every word he'd said felt like a fresh wound, but it was also proof. "This is it," Mia said. "This is enough to show the principal." The next morning, we went to the principal's office, my heart pounding in my chest. I held the recorder tightly, feeling the weight of what we were about to do. Principal Johnson looked surprised to see us, but he quickly gestured for us to sit down. "Olivia, Mia, what brings you here?" he asked, his tone warm but slightly puzzled. I took a deep breath, feeling my hands shake as I placed the recorder on his desk. "Principal Johnson, I have something you need to hear. It's about Mr. Dawes." He raised an eyebrow, his expression shifting from confusion to concern. "All right," he said, pressing play on the recorder. The room filled with Mr. Dawes' voice, each of his slimy, unsettling comments echoing through the room. I watched as Principal Johnson's face grew darker, his mouth tightening with every word. When it finished, he looked up at me, eyes filled with shock and anger. This is deeply disturbing, Olivia. Thank you for bringing this to my attention." He was silent for a moment, his mind clearly working through the implications of what he'd just heard. "I'll handle this. Rest assured we will be taking immediate action." A sense of relief washed over me, but I also felt a pang of fear. What would happen next? I wanted Mr. Dawes to face consequences, but I worried about what might happen to me and how people would react. Within days, rumors started swirling around the school. People began whispering in the hallways, casting curious and sometimes judgmental glances my way. Some students avoided me, while others acted like I was some kind of hero. But there were also a few who questioned me, saying things like, "Are you sure you didn't misunderstand him?" Or "Maybe you're exaggerating." Those comments hurt the most. Even though I knew I'd done the right thing, it was hard facing the looks, the whispers, the gossip that spread like wildfire. But Mia stood by me, reminding me every day that I was brave for speaking up. One day, as I was walking to class, a girl I barely knew approached me. She looked nervous, glancing around before she spoke. "Olivia, I just wanted to say thank you," she said softly. I had a strange experience with Mr. Dawes too, but I was too scared to say anything. Her words made me feel a mix of relief and sadness. I wasn't alone, and knowing that what I did might help others gave me strength. I nodded, giving her a small smile. "You're welcome," I whispered back. "I'm glad you're okay." That evening, I received another message from Emily, the girl who had left the school a few years ago. "Olivia, thank you for what you did. Because of you, he won't be able to hurt anyone else." Her message hit me harder than I expected. I felt a flood of emotions, relief, anger, and a deep sadness for what she must have gone through. I replied, "It wasn't easy, but I'm glad it's over. I just wish I could have done something sooner." Emily's response came quickly. "What matters is that you did it. You gave others the courage to speak up. You're stronger than you think, Olivia." Her words gave me a sense of closure. I had done something that mattered, something that might have saved others from harm. It didn't erase the pain of what happened, but it gave it meaning. A few days later, Principal Johnson called me back to his office. I walked in, feeling nervous, but he greeted me with a warm smile. "Olivia, I wanted to update you on the actions we're taking," he began. "Mr. Dawes has been suspended pending further investigation. We're also implementing new protocols so that students can safely report any uncomfortable situations without fear." His words filled me with a sense of pride and relief. "Thank you," I said, my voice soft but steady. "It means a lot to know that something good is coming from this." He nodded. "Olivia, what you did took immense courage. Not everyone would have had the strength to come forward. You've helped change this school for the better." Hearing that from him meant more than I could express. I walked out of his office, feeling lighter, knowing that my actions had made a difference. Weeks passed, and gradually the whispers died down. People moved on, but I knew I would carry the experience with me forever. I was stronger now, more resilient, and more aware of my own power. I had faced my fears, and in doing so, I had not only protected myself but others as well. One afternoon, as I was leaving school, I saw Emily standing by the gate. My heart leapt with surprise. I hadn't expected to see her in person. She gave me a small, hesitant smile, and I walked over, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Olivia," she said, her voice soft but warm, "I just wanted to thank you in person. You gave me hope that there are still people brave enough to stand up against wrong." I smiled back, feeling a deep connection with her. "Thank you, Emily. If it weren't for you warning me, I might not have found the courage to speak up. We're stronger together." We talked for a while, sharing our stories and realizing that we weren't alone. Emily told me she was studying psychology, wanting to help others who had gone through difficult experiences. Her strength inspired me, and I felt like I had made a friend who truly understood me. That night, I sat by my window, gazing up at the stars. I thought about everything I had been through. The fear, the courage it took to expose Mr. Dawes, the whispers, the isolation, and finally the support I had found in friends like Mia and Emily. I knew that this experience would stay with me, but instead of feeling like a burden, it felt like a part of my strength. I realized that my voice had power, that I had the courage to stand up when it mattered most. In life, we all face challenges that test our strength and integrity. My story taught me that standing up for what's right isn't easy, but it's necessary. It's important to remember that you're not alone and that your voice matters, even when it feels small. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that explore courage, resilience, and the power of standing up for what's right. Thank you for being a part of my journey. Remember, you're braver than you think, and together we can create a world where no one has to feel powerless.